Hello. Hi, everybody. This is Otter Talk. We're back for week 4 of Blue Otter League's Diamond League. My name is Alec Battery. I'm also going to be joined by Isaac and Basting plus Coffee Beans of Akuma Sabres. Boys, lads, gentlemen, let's get this out of the way for Otter Talk. Beans, kind of come to you first. How are you feeling today?
Feeling great. Can't wait to play.
Yeah? Are you excited about your match?
Yeah, just watched 100 Thieves get absolutely ass blasted this morning, so I'm ready to show up for North America.
There we go. Look, all I'm saying is there's a really cool Reddit comment today about the 100 Thieves R7 game. Technically, those are two North America's League games. So North America did not lose. Okay, we won. We won today. That's all we had to say. Basings, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I am now formally the player known as the best player in BOL Diamond. I cannot call myself the best player. I've dropped down in stats, so that's a little bit disappointing, but besides that, I've been doing good. Okay,
I'm sorry that you lost that due to stats. Stats are the most important. Stats don't lie. Numbers never lie. People do. Isaac, we're going to be commentating today. We got the energy?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, what happened with your Hamlet stuff? I thought you were you had to like leave for your production.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that again immediately after the
Let's go. I also have to go to a Shakespeare play later today. So let's get kind of rolling with this Otter Talk stuff. So we've got our predictions coming in for this week. Real quick, for anybody who does not know, we do have Omega Goobers versus XG Leviathan, Mars and Four Words versus Art of War, Final Boss versus Grown Boys Click, which, spoiler alert, already kind of happened. Elysium, Ares, and ketaMINT, as well as Akuma Sabres and TPF. So we're gonna go down the list a little bit. But before we do that, I kind of want to take a recap looking at last week. The biggest upsets, I think, of last week that we saw, XG Leviathan taking a win over Mars, and Omega Goobers losing to Elysium Ares. Kind of going towards our guests here, do either of you kind of have a feeling of like what happened maybe of last week? Was there's just something in the air looking at the drafts?
Maybe some happy gaming happened, I would say. I think... Omega Goobers, like looking at the post games at least, it looked like some happy games, and it kind of looked like Oswald kind of just dropped his nuts on their forehead. So
okay. So I got to watch through the raffles on these ones, and honestly, this was, in my mind, Omega Goobers should have won all 3 games. They won the first game. They threw for like 10 minutes. Then game 2, I thought they were in a pretty fine spot, but I think Midnight and most importantly, I think this Swain pick kind of just didn't really pan out. Dark Lord Oswald actually did get a pentakill during this game, so I want to say congratulations to you. You got a pentakill on Jinx. That's pretty awesome, pretty fun. And on the last game, this game was... a game of all time. I was really happy, I think, with Anthony in general. Anthony played really well throughout the series. He's the support for Omega Goobers, but this was a very sloppy series, and I think as one of my first games of watching Elysium Ares, I'm very worried about where this team is at right now. So was a little sus. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of sad. But we also have the sorry, I'm kind of just jumping through a bunch of different notes. XG Leviathan. Now, last week I said that they are probably the worst team in the league. I don't know how you guys felt. Have you guys been scrimming this team? Is there anything you guys are willing to share?
No, it'd probably be a waste of time. So I think, I mean, look, broken clock is right twice a day, right? So
sure,
it's kind of XG's victory.
Okay, Bastings, you got anything on this?
No, he sort of summarized everything I was going to say.
Nice. All right. I mean, yeah, so I'm trying to see. Did I end up watching that game? No, I did not have enough time, unfortunately. I was just making sure if I ended up... I'll probably end up watching it later this week, just trying to catch up. Yeah, so let's kind of get into our predictions now. We are, for the most part, pretty in line. I have GBC winning against Elysium Ares.
I think they're all mixed up.
Wait.
Yeah,
wait,
there's something very off about.
Wait, mine is very not. Wait, hold up. Mine is not woke at all.
You have the same predictions as me and Basting.
Because this week, Grown Boys Click plays Final Boss Diamond.
Yeah.
True.
Because the upcoming match that we're casting today is Elysium Ares and ketaMINT.
Correct.
Also, if I'm
All
looking at this, look at the Akuma Sabres predictions on the wins over Elysium Aries, who's also the predictions. But if you look down, apparently you, Alt Betty, have Akuma Sabres beating Grown Boys Click. So, something went a little bit wrong there.
Monka W. Okay, anyway, so let's just, look, we'll screw it, we'll do it live. Alright, Omega Goobers versus XG Leviathan. I think we're all in accordance here. Omega Goober should win this game. Do you want to make any predictions before the game? Or are you feeling like someone's going to pop off in 1v9?
I feel like maybe XG Leviathan might be able to take off one if Idris is back in this week.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was out. Prim was in at ADC last week for Idris, and they still managed to beat Mars, albeit a bit unconvincingly. But I mean, I think actually Leviathan might be able to pick up an extra a game win in their hand if that is the case. But if it's not, they'll probably struggle.
Yeah, I'm gonna let me see, because I have a DM with Idris. I don't know if we're going to be seeing much more of Idris. We'll see.
I think he's off that team. I think it's Prim for now on.
He at least told me he's a sub. So that's kind of the information that I'm going to be going with. But yeah, Omega Goobers, I wasn't very pleased with their games. For all the Omega Goobers, I'm sorry. Although I should not be apologizing. Your games were very bad. I was very sad watching them. I wish Sourcewalker and Flame a very good rest of the season. You two deserve to win. Let's go on to our next match. We do have, after that, we have Mars and 4 Wards versus Art of War. I personally don't know where I kind of stand on Mars and 4 Wards. I do have them winning this game, but that's more of a testament to, I think that their strategy of the game is a little bit better matched towards Art of War. How are we feeling, boys?
I think they're just better players, right? Like individually. Respectfully to my Art of War brothers, they're all they're all Emerald players in a Diamond League, right? So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate for them.
They're also going through roster mania, right? So hopefully that can kind of get like locked down. We're in week 4. This is like usually the turning point in the season where it's like if you don't have your game together, the season's kind of scrapped.
I will say they did add the GOAT meta shift, so maybe it's winnable.
Well, okay, can you give me the lowdown on this guy? Because he's just kind of like popped up, and
I mean, he runs meta shift league, and he's like notorious for being a bit of an oddball. We'll say, like the last time I played against meta shift, he played Malphite jungle 3 games, so he's just kind of like he has his own meta, I guess.
Hence the name.
Yeah, he's a weird guy.
I remember hard losing to his Ramus.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds like the GOAT.
Yeah, he is.
Dude's built different. I mean, I said week 1, Art of War Esports is making playoffs, and
sure.
I'm still on that train, despite what sense might tell you. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on to. I'm just gonna skip Final Boss versus Grown Boys Click. Can we? Are we cool with that?
Yeah.
I think we know the results of that one. If you don't know, Grown Boys Click 2-1 over them. Very good. Also, I think it is very funny every week when the match results are all done. I think it's someone from Final Boss Diamond who's like, "Good morning to all the teams that are undefeated, aka no one except Akuma and us." And now, unfortunately, I don't think that that's possible anymore. They've taken a loss here. Elysium Aries versus ketaMINT. That's a game that we're going to be streaming and casting over here today. I think this should just be kind of a sweep after watching the ketaMINT series from last week. I said this to Basting a little bit before the show. I think XG and ketaMINT may be racing for 9th to 10th. I don't know if Beans, you have anything different.
I think these rosters are a prime example of why we should have relegation in these leagues.
Do you think we have more than 10 teams that want to play?
I'm sure we could. I'm sure there's a team that could be more competitive.
Beans, why do we need to relegate them? What's going on? Like, is there beef?
Well, I mean, it's just like
get out there, man.
It's like, okay, so you go into a season with a 5-man, you lose 1 week, kick the entire 5-man and get a new 5-man, lose that week, kick that entire 5-man and get a new... It's like, come on now. Let's be a little serious here. And it's usually they'll kick like 3 or 4 people, and then they'll keep one person on the roster. Like,
it's like ship
it's Theseus, right? It's Theseus ship or whatever. It's, I don't know. It's weird. I think it's really odd when teams like boot their entire team and start a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are bigger problems there than the players.
Classic North American GMing strikes again. Happens. Okay, let's move on to a game that was maybe a little bit more relevant for everyone who is here on the show. Akuma Sabres and TPF Tempest. That is your guys' game. I don't know if the Akuma boys really want to talk about their own series in this way.
We're losing.
Isaac, did you have any
on Akuma Sabres and TPF Tempest? I mean, my thoughts are that Akuma Sabres are the best team in the league. So
blink twice if you are in need of assistance. Do not worry. Coffee and basings can't hurt you.
I mean, I will say TPF Tempest had definitely surprised me with how they've performed so far, since they were definitely considered one of the favorites to be like the bottom team. So they've definitely performed above what I expected them to do. So like to be like fair to TPF Tempest, they've done pretty well so far. They've surprised me in a good way. But I mean, Akuma Sabres, reigning champions. Not only that, they've looked. I mean, they've had a few questionable moments. You know, the happy moments.
You can thank Beans for that. He is on the show today. So
yeah, they've definitely had a few moments. But I mean, outside of a few like questionable things, I mean, overall, they're just. They are so far. I have yet to see anything otherwise to say that they are the best team in the league.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I said last week that depending on how this roster performed in the upcoming weeks was going to kind of shape my opinion. I know we actually had power rankings up last week, and I think we can kind of just jump to those real quick. I had TPF Tempest as kind of the barrier to entry for the league. I need to see who did I send my power rankings to. I think I sent it to Dory. Okay, so first place I have Akuma, final boss second. I have TPS Tempest. Oh, actually I have TPF Tempest at 8th. All right, I'm actually just a fake fan. I said last week that depending on their performance, I would hop off the TPF Tempest train. Now, they did change up their roster again. Chief is back in support, and we have Olympian stepping in top lane. And their games last week looked pretty good. They played like a Fiora Kindred composition where Carbill just like ran the map on Kindred that I thought he performed really, really well. And then they played their second game that they played. They had like they played Lux bottom lane. So all of last week, Joshua just pulled out like a bunch of mages. They played Seraphine Tarek bot lane. Then they played Lux Braum bottom lane.
Yeah, Lux Braum is wild.
It was wild. From watching the tape, it looked pretty cheeks, but I like the theory of it. I think their draft strategy is a little bit suspect, but I like the ideas that they're kind of... I like the conclusions that they're getting to. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the steps that we got to there. So I'm interested to see where this team goes. It's unfortunate that they have a really strong win up against ketaMINT, then immediately have to play up against Akuma, but I think from here on out, I'm looking at their schedule, right? And you talk about TPF Tempest. Next week they play Final Boss, stronger opponent. Mars and 4 Wards is someone that they're currently contesting in the standings for like a 4th, 5th place spot right now. And after that, then they're also going to be playing against Omega Goobers. So while I think this is going to be the hardest 2 weeks of their schedule, it is very possible, I think, for them, if they keep playing at this level, to make it into playoffs and maybe change up some of the standings. But we can kind of move on towards Basting and Coffee Beans. Your standings don't look too dissimilar, although I see Basting, you have GVC quite a bit lower than maybe a few people would. You want to kind of talk us through that?
I know, like, they just beat Final Boss, but, like, surely if they run it back again, that doesn't happen, right? I mean, like, they talk enough that you would feel like they would, like, wouldn't be the 5th best team in the league. I don't know. Like, they talk enough that, like, surely they beat a mid-table team.
Yeah.
And not just, like, drop a series which no one expected them to drop. So, I don't know. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They don't deserve it, but I'm giving it to them. They talked enough. They convinced me.
All right, fair enough. Trying to see what else. I'm trying to see if there's anything else.
I've got XG up in 5th, but that was mostly on.
Yeah, I see that.
I was mostly on the basis that I thought Idris was coming back.
I'm gonna be real. I don't think Idris would have saved this team. No one man can say it's not 80 carry meta. If this was like Zeri Yumi meta, maybe I would trust that. But unfortunately, that team
changes.
Not everybody can win. Okay, someone has to lose the games every week. That happens. All right. I think we're kind of through all this. I kind of wanted to talk about, since we do have 2 Akuma players for this week, kind of your schedule coming up. So obviously you're going to be playing against TPF today. Next week you guys are going to be playing against ketaMINT. So I think, you know, we're kind of looking at these 2 weeks as a boost to your schedule. How are you guys feeling about going into playoffs? Because obviously regular season and playoffs can be a little bit of a different beast. You guys are the, you know, reigning champions right now. What does that kind of look like for you guys in terms of how you guys treat regular season versus playoffs?
I mean, I'm of the opinion that, like, it doesn't really matter how you get to playoffs as long as you get there. Obviously, I'd love to go 9-0, you know, not lose a single game, 18-0 game score. But, like, to be honest, I don't really care, and I'm sure you guys have noticed with the gameplay. Like, I just don't care how we win as long as we do win, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. By any means necessary.
Yeah,
even if it means running down enemy jungle, enemy top laner, that's fine. Even if it means
I genuinely could not care less.
My goat.
As long as their Nexus explodes before ours, I couldn't care less. And that said, like, this is kind of like, so it's returning champion roster, right? Like 3/5 because Matt G, Sun and Stars, and Basing were on the team last split. So it's kind of me stepping in for Ranku, our old jungler, and trying to just do the things he did, but obviously with my kind of flair to it, because I'm more of like a general in game, I suppose. Like I like to, you know, direct traffic and whatnot, and getting used to playing with these people. I've never played with any of them before. I've been friends with them for a long time, but I've never played with any of them. So it's kind of getting over that hurdle for myself as well. And then, you know, obviously, I think we'll probably win the league. So, you know, powering up as we go as well.
Okay. Basting, do you think that having... Does the undefeated streak play any kind of role in your mind, do you think? Because I know even just looking at Tier 1, when we kind of move over to LCS, the Team Liquid squad was very, very interested in having an undefeated season. They were saying, oh, we don't really care. Like, it's nice if we have it. But eventually they you know, were talking about it in some interviews. They're like, we did kind of want to go undefeated. Like, that's just kind of a cool thing. Do you think that maybe affects anyone on your team?
I feel like we would like much rather prefer going undefeated than not.
Sure.
And I think that everyone wants to go undefeated, but I don't think we play like we want to. We're not playing to just win every game as decisively as possible. We're definitely still trying to win, but like maybe not in like the most sweatiest fundamental way.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I will say we have another level, if push comes to shove, but honestly we haven't really had to use it because we're playing against some of the worst teams, I guess, so far. Like, obviously strength of schedule is not great.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you had XG week 1, week 2, Art of War.
I will say we did have the best XG roster, so
that is true.
We did play against their best 5-man. This was the best they could offer, and they couldn't make it for 30 minutes. So.
All right. Well, again, looking at your schedule, I think big eyes on week 6 going up against Final Boss. We'll see if they can kind of keep up in terms of, you know, kind of fighting for you guys against the standings. Any last words? Basings, we'll start with you. Any last words? Any kind of shout-outs you want to do before we let you go?
Yeah. I mean, well, I'll shout out my team, of course, and always. I'm always gonna shout out Flame. That's the big matchup for me, week 8. Omega Goobers. That I think is going to be the most fun matchup to watch all season. Final boss of frauds. So.
Ah, okay. Beans, shoutouts.
Obviously, shout out to the org I own. In case you're wondering, I own Akuma, so that's why I'm on this team. I'm unreplaceable. Shout out to my brother Toomey, our head coach in quotation marks, the greatest coach to ever do it, and obviously my teammates. These guys are great. And Daniel Livebinder, the GOAT, esports personality.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll let you guys go get into your games. We're going to finish up this Otter Talk, and we're going to head straight into our TPF versus ketaMINT games. Otherwise, best of luck, GLHF. Have fun. Make sure you guys close out your games. And yeah, we'll be right back, and when we're back, we'll have the series hopefully at hand.
And they say I have a grim sense of humor.
Welcome in, everybody, to Blue Waters Diamond League here in Week 4. I'm Isaac. Alongside me today is Alt Battery, and for our matchup, we bring you a little bit of a more of a bottom half table league. This one pushing for playoffs between Elysium, Ares, and ketaMINT today. Alt Battery.
Elysium Ares got their first win last week going up against the Mega Goobers. Maybe this is the start of the run. We'll have to see. We're kind of getting through the first part of the draft. Biggest thing for me, new patch. We're on 14-19. A lot of the items got gutted. Some of the different champions that we're going to be seeing looking like we're going to be getting a lot more control mages in mid. But we'll have to see. I think the most exciting thing about today is going to be the fact that we're on a new patch. And that could potentially shake up some of our standings. Some players may have to change up some of their champion pools. And we'll have to see, especially with the new rank season coming in as well. Just a lot of changes for today. And first part of the draft, Garen, Lilia, and Shyvana. Shyvana's been a little bit sleeper over in Vietnam. We'll see if, we'll see more of that as Elysium going to be first pick in that Smolder.
Yeah, I mean, Smolder is just one of the better ADCs right now, just in general. You hit that point where he just wins the game, and it's just a good bit of insurance, especially since ADC is not necessarily the strongest role at the present moment, at least to my understanding.
Yeah,
so
we've been seeing a lot of Soldier in solo lane and mid lane, so I don't think we're going to be seeing it, especially with what is in AD carry when we're talking about bottom lane, right? This is also because of the new patch. I want to see if any other teams are really going to be playing AD mids, because really the only champions that are being played that are attack damage mids are going to be like Yone, Yasuo, those win guys, and maybe a few others. And I'm interested to see if people are going to continue to play marksman or more attack damage style champions in mid lane, just because of some of the changes that we've been talking about. And especially with a lot of AD junglers kind of being brought back, this could be a moment where we see something a little bit different here. So Smolder, obviously, like you were saying, hits that point, is a great scaling opportunity for the enemy team. And I like a Mumu already. A Mumu MF, this is a strong pairing already. This first three from Elysium looks very good.
Yeah, I mean, a Mumu, Misfortune, Curse of the Sad Bullet Time combination. Layer them up top between each other, and then there you have it. Not to mention, you do with a Mumu have that little bit extra, bit of flexibility even as an option as support. So keeping their options open as well. Since I know typically with double AD, I mean Ivern is still open and a potential option for Elysium Ares should they want to go with that. I don't know if it would really fit in with OP Killswitch's champion pool, but it's an option.
Yeah, Maokai is still available. We're going to be getting to the back half of the draft here. This Silas for ketaMINT, I think, throws an interesting spanner in the works for what Elysium wants to do. You have two very strong ultimate abilities already with, like you were saying, the Curse of the Sad Bullet Time available for them. And it makes some of the tankier options that Elysium could go for. Because if this is going to be support Amumu, he's not going to have a ton of income. So he's really going to be kind of just there to apply his ultimate, and then if he gets maybe one more, if he gets to live for an extra 2 to 3 seconds, that's great. You're really just there for the value. If this is jungle, then obviously able to get your own kind of income, generate a little bit, maybe get to like 2 items, and then you're kind of looking good. Especially with where support items are right now, with all the item gold changes. could be something that affects the game. It makes it so that champions like Maokai become a little bit less valuable because, you have Sylas there and suddenly it becomes very difficult to play the game.
Yeah, and with that mentioned, Leona will be the counter option for ketaMINT, just kind of continuing a fairly strong pick-heavy sort of composition already showing on the side of ketaMINT. I will say I do like it in terms of like how you want to play the game, because especially into a Mumu Misfortune, I mean, obviously the layering there, it's really good if you can get all the enemy champions into the same spots, but as it is right now on ketaMINT, you don't necessarily all need to be in the same spot. That being said, Poppy is the answer, very strong answer into what ketaMINT has drafted. Poppy
versus Sylas Leona sounds pretty GG to me. And like you were saying, Leona offers that like spot conditional ultimate that makes it very hard for Misfortune to actually use that ability. So cool spot I think that ketaMINT actually put Elysium in, where with the Sylas Leona, they kind of flash the hover for wanting to play Nautilus. But if you pick Nautilus, then Sylas has that ultimate, and that is a game changer right there. The AP scaling on that goes really crazy. Sylas is going to be going for that full ability power damage, and that right there could be very, very dangerous. So Taliyah, the option here. So it looks like we are probably going to be seeing either a Poppy jungle, a Mumu support. It could also be that we're having Smolder in a solo lane. That is more likely going to be the case. And if you know that the opponent top laner is going to be playing a majority of tanks, I think this is a perfectly fine option. It looks like what is going to be going on is we're going to be having Taliyah versus Sylas. Not a fun matchup for either of these two champions. And then Smolder versus Nasus, which has kind of been the go-to answer when we look at mid lane in pro play.
Of champion that Susurration has played before this season, which would actually be the first time that Susurration has had a repeat champion this season in Blue Water Diamond. So, I mean, if there's time to flip that up, I mean, I'm looking through the list here. No, hasn't played Poppy yet. So, I mean, if we're running it for the meme and giving Susurration Poppy into Nasus, I'm not exactly a fan of that. I would definitely more prefer to see Smolder there in Susuration's hand for sure.
I am not on the Susurration hype train, unfortunately. After watching his games last week, I think going up against Omega Goobers, I think Flame had his number. To be fair, Flame I think
Flame
is
has a lot of people's number though.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's just because Flame is a top 2, top 3 top laner in the league, but he did not inspire a lot of hope. And I am looking to see how he's going to be able to perform in this one, as this for me is going to be more of a redemption game and kind of buying your social credit for me. I want to see if Susurration can kind of take it. This is supposed to be, I think, a layup week for Elysium Ares. They are coming in obviously after their win last week, so if they can string together 2 wins, that right there is a really big kind of season changer. As we talk about the week-to-week schedules, Elysium Ares are currently 1-2 after going 2-0 in the first 2 weeks, so picking up wins, very important. We're getting into week 4. I know we talked about this during Otter Talk, but we're getting to that point where if you don't kind of have like a strategy ready to kind of churn out, and depending on your strength of schedule, that could be like these first couple weeks are definitely like make or break you getting into playoffs. And being 1-2 at this point, very dangerous.
Yeah. But in terms of strength of schedule, Elysium Ares, the very least, they do have a little bit of respite coming up, at least in comparison. You have XG Leviathan and Art of War immediately following next week and the following week. So, I mean, if there is a time to start racking up wins and pushing for that spot, and at least giving yourself insurance before you get back into TPF, not TPF tip, it's Grown Boys Click and Akuma Sabers, who are also left in their schedule. I mean, now's the time to do it, and I mean, we were both predicting a 2-0 against 2-0 for Elysium, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. ketaMINT's games have not inspired very much in terms of how they like to operate. I think last week's games also were very, very sus. Like if I take a look here for them, they were the ones that were playing. Where is this? Oh my god. My sheet is kind of a mess, unfortunately.
ketaMINT was playing TPF Tempest.
Yeah, they were playing TPF Tempest. I think Ixie was kind of on like a really weird train of thought with where his team wanted to be. Storm got absolutely blasted in that series. I think individually they did not seem like the team was all that together in what they wanted to do. So hopefully the week here also have a pretty new roster coming in. So similar to what we were talking about last week for Art of War with their kind of revolving door of rosters, I want to see if this team can kind of pull it together, and maybe this is the roster that, you know, brings them in.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if this ketaMINT roster can be the one to turn their fortunes around for this season. But until then, we will have to go into a spectator live. But don't go anywhere. It's only a few minutes, and when we come back, we will have loaded onto the Rift for Game 1 between Elysium, Ares, and ketaMINT. We'll see you then. And we have loaded onto the Rift for Game 1 between Elysium Ares and ketaMINT on blue and red sides, respectively. I have Isaac alongside me, Alk Battery, if you are just tuning in. And straight away, not a lot of just pretty standard stuff going through. So, Alk Battery.
Yep.
One thing Mumu Jungle is not exactly something we've seen a little bit of a rise in recently, but you were mentioning it earlier and the amount of extra gold on there and how it would affect this upcoming match. So I just kind of wanted to expand on that a little bit, if you could.
Yeah, I mean, so the way that I see Elysium Ares being able to win is just finding picks on a relatively squishier team like ketaMINT. There are no true, like, 1v9 tanks. There's not going to be a laning tank like an Ornn or a Scion or something of that nature. When you are playing in support, you just have access to a lot less gold and experience compared to something like jungle or mid lane. And so when you are playing in those roles, you have to be very, very deliberate with what your items are. Especially, like, one of the most famous ones is when you're talking about buying a bunch of control wards as support, because basically you're just sapping 150 gold to 75 gold every base, and that could prevent you from hitting an item timing at 7-9 minutes, these kinds of things. So you have to be really intentional with what you're buying when you're in low econ, low, just low resources, and especially for a jungle. This can be a situation where we've been seeing some junglers opt for kind of a build similar to Maokai, where you're going for Leandries first, and then you're picking up a tank items after that, because typically tank items are a lot cheaper for the stats that they provide. Support items are notorious for giving very, very cheap tank stats. And for something like jungle, if you're willing to give over your resources to a Smolder, to a MF, these kinds of things can potentially make it so that when you come to a third or fourth dragon fight, your AD carry has an additional component or even an additional item. That right there could make or break a game.
Well, we started trading away. A short trip up to that top side. So already, wait, hold on. We do have Hooked on Plays spending up Ixie there. Speaking of Ixie, we've seen Ixie in the jungle last week, so a bit of an odd move over. That being said, Ixie has kind of played just all around the map for this ketaMINT roster. I'm not entirely familiar with Ixie's game, so I can respect that level of versatility. I'm just not exactly sure how effective it will be, especially as we've seen a little bit early on here. It's been a little bit rough for this bottom lane, but that's also coming down to a little bit of that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Poppy 1 through 3 is just absolutely broken. Like, this champion is really ridiculous. So a couple things that are already kind of come into mind here. One, we have a matchup top lane where typically what we see from Nasus versus Smolder is you're going for the Arcane Comet, and you're kind of just making sure to be able to interact with him through the laning phase, utilizing your E. That's not the case. Actually going for Fleet Footwork, which I think is kind of interesting, and going for Q-Max, which means you will have a lot of upfront damage, but I think you're not going to usually be having access to the minion wave, which when you're playing top lane, that's one of the most important things, is just being able to have a timer to be able to move for grubs. And I love already what Dark Lord Allswood and Hooked on Flays have been doing, which is because they have access and they've been winning the 2v2 in bottom lane, they're making sure to get vision on the enemy jungle and playing the game on...
That's not quite where you want to be.
And he should be fine. He has enough. He has Aftershock and W. Those two right there are basically like a full dead man's plate on this champion. But having map hacks on enemy jungle is broken.
Okay, you say that, but Hooked on Flays has picked Hail of Blades Poppy support. And
that 1 through 3 is broken.
Yeah. And we saw, I was just saying just more so how much damage that Hooked on Plays. You said the between Aftershock and the W, but I mean you can't exactly proc Aftershock or W while stunned, and in that time, Hail of Blades comes out fast. So
so right here, this top dive has to go right for them, because if for whatever reason they don't get the kill or Susurration is able to survive, the game is super ruined for top lane. So Susurration got a really nice back, where he was able to live. Oh, uh-oh. Okay, he has flash.
Restoration does have flash, but not much to go. Hasn't taken damage on any of the side of ketaMINT, so they won't have to worry at all about that tower aggro, and it'll be a fairly easy first blood for the side of ketaMINT.
Yep. Needed to get that wave in. Otherwise, Smolder just takes the recall. I think Susurration should have just stuck the landing. He has, you know, that Nasus has no Spirit Fire, so might as well just go for it. Didn't even force any Summoner spells out from them, and the wave is also going to be pushing back. So this is a good state for Volter, and a great job coming out from the side of ketaMINT.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying it before it even happened that it was pretty necessary for that dive to go right, and well, it did. So. No.
Great job, ketaMINT. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Thank you for doing something right. We're very early into the game. There's many times to make mistakes.
They did something right, but meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the stun won't quite come off on Hooked on Flays, but it will force both summoners out of Will Show Them All. Or is it Welsh? I mean, there's no apostrophe there, so.
We won't know. I don't think you're allowed to put an apostrophe in your name.
You aren't technically, but I mean, irrigation, man. You know the
sure,
well.
you can always find a way, I guess, if you're really adamant to having that. So, by having Ixie move over towards topside, it obviously allows for them to make this play on Grubs. They got the push in on top lane. Volter got their recall in. Piclay was able to take his recall as well. So, getting themselves Grubs really important for this team, as they are a very low range team compared to their opponents. So, you should assume that their access to hitting turrets should be a lot less than their opponents. So at the very best, what you're doing is you're going to have access to this if you win a team fight and be able to push waves. At the very least, what ends up happening is you do take away a resource, which in and itself is just an advantage for you.
Hold on a second. My brains have been kind of slow. I mean, at the same time, we do have a wave pushing in, no teleport or flash on Susurration, so a little bit tough, but Mom will be called down to clear out that wave, and, well, Susurration will keep himself alive a little bit longer with a decent amount of damage onto Piclay, so at least for now should be okay. Hooked on Flays. There we go. That's the Poppy into Leona matchup right there.
Yep.
On display.
There we go. That's how much fun. I mean, that play is really hard to make. Piclay does not have ultimate. Also, any time that Susurration has ult, the calling down Smolder Mom just makes it so hard to dive. He just one-shots the minion wave, and you really have to have a lot of damage to be able to kind of reach that threshold. He's full HP. I don't think he's very worried at this point. I think Susurration is doing a really good job of squeezing a little bit of advantages where he can, where we saw when he died, he actually was trying to really clear the minion wave and get as much gold as possible. Here now, it is a little different.
Susurration, still no flash, and Piclay is here, not a tower dive, and there's not much else where to go for Susurration, so Volter will pick up yet another kill on this Nasus in the top lane.
Why did I think I just saw a very cursed item. I'm glad he didn't do it. I saw a tunneler built in Susuration's item pool, and I was about to lose it. My brain was thinking, well, what's going on? There's a game that I was watching for Akuma, and I saw Nasus build the most random faded ashes of all time. It was Nasus versus Aurora. Nasus first item backs, gets faded ashes, and then for some reason his first completed item is Trinity Force. So he just has 900 gold of the most useless stats of all time, and I was very sad.
I mean, wait, so who was it? Was it Nasus. Was it basting on Nasus though? Are you sure?
No, it wasn't. It was basting on Aurora. I was watching it with basting, and he pointed out, because I hadn't noticed, and he just goes, look at what this Nasus just built. Do you know what this turns into? And I was like, is this like Blackfire Torch on Nasus? That sounds really terrible. And he goes, just watch.
Speaking of really terrible, this is not the space you want to be in if you are the bot lane of ketaMINT. One kill going down over to the side of Ixie, so a slight 3v2 advantage on the side of this map early on, because it is Piclay here. Flash forward from Hooked on Flays. Bullet time coming down, gets that kill. Hooked on Flays will go down from the tower shots, but Piclay doesn't have a lot of room to go. Will try and find OP kills, which does get that first kill. Not much else left for him to do, though, without any health. and Tough Daddy will be able to pick up that kill on the backside of that. So overall, advantage over the side of Elysium Airs at the end of that fight.
And a very good trade, I think, here for Tough Daddy, where now you get to be playing the Silas Talia matchup with double buffs in your back pocket. This is going to be pretty miserable 2 minutes here for Icy Rain in a matchup where, honestly, not doing too bad. He's only lost a single plate. He is only down 10 CS. I think is a perfectly fine situation, as Susurration has to be very careful, doesn't have a ton of damage to be able to trade with Volter, and Volter right now has enough sustain throughout the lane that it makes it very difficult. This fleet footwork is doing a lot of work. Fleet footwork getting changed to make sure that melee champions can really utilize this, so maybe this is just how the matchup has changed. This is something that is part of the new patch.
Yeah, honestly, I forgot that the patch dropped today.
That's okay. That's why we get to learn. That's why we get to learn with the new patch.
I'm learning on the fly with the new patches. You say the patch notes, and I just nod along like, yeah, I
That's okay. Look, we also have a bunch of new players that we have not seen play. Okay, like we've got Volter. I've never seen Peakley in my entire life. Neither can I say for this AD carry. So what we say in the broadcast world is everybody's learning alongside each other.
Once again, we'll be having a visit from Peakley. Flashes, but predicted by Peakley. Will be okay, though. Peakley not quite having the Heartbreaker again just yet. It was actually on cooldown, which does understandably dissuade the rest of that fight.
Yeah, that's, you know, all we can say is we got the flash. So, Ixie's in a really weird position where if he leaves bottom lane for too long, his AD carry is going to die because it is just Poppy misfortune. This guy, if Jin is ever alone, he should just be getting dove on repeat. But Ixie also can't ever go in. Unless Poppy is in that situation where Poppy goes to the river to ward, they can never actually jump in because as soon as Ixie tries to find anything, it's just a W and boom, he's done for.
Speaking of finding anything, OP kill switch is here, but so is Peakley. They're going to be the Zenith Blade onto OP kill switch early, but the wall will block them all. There's nowhere to go on the side of ketaMINT, and it is an absolutely brilliant team play from Elysium Aries to pick up 2 there in the bot lane.
Great job. Not only do they get those 2 kills, they're able to push on bot lane, they get their resets in. Tough Daddy is going to immediately run back mid. They get the TP out from Icy Rain. Icy Rain, if I'm him, get this bottom wave. Your bot lane just died. You're going to be missing. You basically just teleported for absolutely nothing in this play. So not only do you get the 2 kills, but they get so much more for their mid lane and their advantage. Great job coming out from the side of Elysium Aries.
Yeah, and it was pretty huge shift of favor going over their side. I believe for the first time in this game, they do start to expand on this gold lead that they've recently picked up for their last 2 fights, sitting out at around 2K at 13 minutes. Feeling quite good, especially as they are picking up that second Drake as well. I mean, the early, I mean, it's one of those that's not even traded away. I mean, the common thing that we've heard ever since Void Grubs were added is that the Drake for Grubs trade, but I mean, sitting on 2 Drakes as well as not giving all 6 Grubs over to the side of ketaMINT, since you were mentioning with how low range ketaMINT's comp is. It's oh boy, hold on, I'm not sure this is the fight that you won. If you're in the bot lane, Peakley now on the top side. We'll try to find out Susurration. Got a bit of a.
Yeah, I mean, Peakley just, was just there too early here. I mean, Peakley trying to make a play on top side. They were maybe going to see if they could try to find Susurration. But with everybody moving up towards the top side, we see that Tough Daddy and OP kill switch.
I don't know if this is what you want. We'll show them all going low, going down. There's not much you can really do as the bot lane into this combination. 2v2 kill going over to the side of Elysium Aries. And it is an absolute disaster for the bottom lane of ketaMINT. There's no way they try to find Ixie as well, right? I mean, hooked on
just zone him off XP, let your AD carry get solo gold and experience. Perfectly well played. I think this is a really great game coming out from the bottom lane of Elysium Aries, and even though we have a little bit of a change here, I think that they are perfectly doing fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to see a way back into the game for this bottom lane of ketaMINT. We'll show them all.
It's gonna take a while. I mean, Jin takes at least 3 items for this champion to be real, because Jhin is generically very strong thanks to the way that his kit works with less attack speed but having a lot of upfront damage thanks to the way his bullet system works. But he's very strong on one item, and then after that he kind of like tapers off, he waits, then 3 or 4 items is really where Jhin starts to shine, where he gets a ton of attack damage, has the automatic crit, which is really strong, and right here this might be a window because Icy Rain does have a Moo ult.
He does. Will finds that onto Tough Daddy. Trade of flashes and peak glaze here. It will be the kill over onto Icy Rain. So picking one back up for the side of ketaMINT. Not quite sure for how much they can get in exchange off of this though. Teleport coming through, so we will have a fight coming up. Curtain will be called. Hooked on Place going low, not quite down. Icy Rain on the other hand on the side.
Wow.
Will hand a kill over. Ixie's Ignite will at least give one back, but still a trade for one in a slight numbers advantage. Flash from OP Kill Switch will keep him alive just for now. Rift Herald summoned down. Will the charge come through?
Nice.
I'm actually not sure. They should be able to hold this off. So no Rift Herald charge for ketaMINT as well.
Susurration, please!
Walter will pick up another kill. Stunned onto Peaklay. Traded over back at the very least, but there's not much Jeff you can really do here as Dark Oswald will get that kill onto the...
No way!
No way they find more. At least it's a shutdown going over to the side of Will Show Them All, but it was a bit of a blundered tower dive there from ketaMINT. They definitely should have been able to, or at least not have traded as much back to the side of Elysium Ares as they did at the end of that fight.
I feel like ketaMINT keep like stumbling into success, right? Like not everything is going well for them. Their bottom lane is getting absolutely smashed right now. I mean, Misfortune already has 2 items at 17 minutes. Very, very strong right now, but that entire play, they get the bot lane play. We see Tough Daddy ends up getting solo killed by Icy, or not solo killed, but peak lane and making that play. At that point, you should be looking for a reset, and maybe they try to go for that dive, but afterwards, they get the TP out from Susurration. Susurration actually ends up getting caught out, and so they're able to kill the Smolder. After that, wipe your hands clean, take your reset, go for, you know, setting up for Dragon, which is coming up in a minute, but they just go for a little bit too much. I will say now, they are in a situation where coming into this third Drake, they will have no flash on this Poppy. There's no flash on Misfortune or Talia. These are the people you should be looking for if you are on this Leona. Should be a very easy pick for them to find, even if they are a little bit behind.
Say easy, but I mean, nothing's exactly the most easy when you are Leona into Poppy.
Poppy cannot stop me from hitting this ultimate. There's a no flash. If I can't hit Leona ult on a no flash MF, I deserve to be reported as support. That's just how it goes.
Well, you say that, but we do have.
He has it. There we go. We landed it.
There's the solar flare dropping, but there's just not a lot of support available on the side of ketaMINT. So they found what you were talking about. I talked about the ultimate onto the Leona onto Misfortune, but just. There's just not anyone else there to follow up on it, and that should hand over that third Drake to the side of Elysium Ares pretty freely.
Tough Daddy has to be really careful here. A single Wither makes it very difficult, and Fleet Footwork plus the Nasus ultimate makes it so, alongside his passive, he should be able to actually kind of win this fight. As long as Tough Daddy doesn't have a single seismic shove, that can become very dangerous. Now the teleport coming in from Icy Rain, they're going to go for the 2v1, try to make a cross-map play.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's really anything you can do as Tough Daddy with the 2v1. Volter's going low, going to try to push that forward, does get the shutdown and picks up a few more stacks here on this Nasus, sitting 4-1 and 2. I haven't seen a lot of Volter in these fights necessarily, but secretly, I mean, maybe not so secretly, because any 4-kill champion there would take some notice, but that has definitely been building up on the side here, for sure. Yeah,
Nasus is becoming a very, credible threat. He's going to be having the has the Merc Treads, has the Frozen Heart as well. So having 400 stacks at this point, level 13. Could be a way that they kind of get in. The way that I see Volter really trying to apply pressure in this game is he has to be in a side lane constantly, making sure that someone has to answer them. And as soon as he's able to do that, drop into Fog of War and then look either for a play onto someone. A lot of Nasus's mid-game power comes from the fact that while he may not be able to interact with a lot of champions, he has a 99% slow on someone at all given times if he's maxing W second. So that right there is a very, very powerful tool that is almost like uncounterable for the most part, unless you're going to be cleansing it, unless you have something like the Swiftness boots, which can reduce some of the slows. That this is a very strong tool that essentially becomes a point-and-click stun.
Yeah, more of a snare, but that's more of a.
99% slow makes it so like there's just no counterplay, and for no attack speed either. That is a very, very big kind of. That basically means you can't do anything. Some spells are usable, but for a lot of the spells, it just becomes unplayable if you're not used to having that little attack speed. Some people are really reliant on kind of the rhythmic motion of playing with attack speed.
That's. You know, now that you mentioned that, I realize that I'm that person.
Yeah.
You ever just have a little bit of introspection go like, yeah, that's...
I'm an AD carry player. I have a lot of time to think about how I'm playing when I'm getting dove on repeat by Poppy, Jarvan, and Viego. Okay. So I have a lot to think about during the gray screen. So right now we're kind of in a lull phase. We don't have a dragon that's quite up. Baron is up, but both teams don't do a ton of damage right now. And really for ketaMINT, the state of the game, you kind of want to slow it down. You want to make sure you get to your item breakpoints. Icy Rain is really close to finishing off the Lich Bane, and right now you have Jhin with 2 items, and 2 items that don't do any kind of damage. I mean, Static Shiv is really there to help Jhin with his wave clear and being able to push on mid, and RFC, while giving him access to champions that may not be in his range, I think is pretty awful here. You're playing into a Mumu, Poppy. These champions are going to be in range at all times. You want to build things that are going to keep you in the fight, that are going to give you damage, that are also going to keep you alive. And, you know, it doesn't really matter just because 3rd item is really where we want to see Jhin kind of start to have an influence on the game.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still the RFC. I don't know, on Jhin, it feels more like a, at least the few times I've played Jhin, it definitely feels more like a comfort sort of thing.
It's
like
a dopamine item.
It's a dopamine item.
It's literally just a dopamine item. That's basically what RFC has been for like 2.5 years at this point, which is just like, I get to auto attack someone at extra range, and I had that little like ching sound. It just sounds great, but it's for the most part functionally useless in terms of what stats it gives.
Yeah, it's like a small anecdote. I remember when I first started playing League of Legends, you know, I was instructed to play Ashe by my older brother, and I kept buying Runan's Hurricane first because it felt good.
It does feel good. I won't lie.
It does feel good.
Old Runan's was very satisfying.
It's just you know, maybe not exactly the most optimal.
You're a new player. You're allowed to make those mistakes. And
yeah, it's more of an anecdotal thing that kind of.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're having fun, right? And
yeah,
I don't know. There is a lot of like very fun builds in the past where like there's a time where like some people were building Runons on Vayne because the new interaction with Runons means that you can apply Silver Bolts on all 3 at the same time. But then they introduced this really cool item called Joksho, which just made every single on-hit champion become a tank, and you had Overgrowth. Very disgusting. There was a Lawnmower Vayne build that I was playing for a little bit where it was like Titans, or Titanic Hydra plus...
P kill switch will go forward. Forces the flash out of P Clay.
Wow, we got a lot for that. Alright.
We did get a huge amount.
Scrolder ult is very low cooldown, so fair enough, fair play. That's just an additional dragon practice stack that you just get. But flash off of P Clay right before the dragon, very important. It should mean that right now the soul should be going over, and this is Hex Soul, so... Ooh, and Susurrations already has the execute. Yeah. Oh god. Oh no.
Uh-oh, Ixie, this is not necessary way to be. The stun won't find anybody on the Soul Affair. Susurration gets that first kill, and here comes the rest of Elysium. Ares trying to find a few. Volter on the back end. We were saying he was a bit of a problem, and Volter might actually be able to turn this one around. OP kill switch going to have to flash away, and Volter coming in towards the back of that find absolutely massive. Gets another kill onto Will Show Them All. So despite the very promising start to that fight for Elysium Ares, it is actually ketaMINT turning it around.
Elysium Ares just don't have enough damage. I know we have the execute, but it takes Smolder so long, especially with this build, going for the Spear of Shojin first and then going for Muramana. These items just don't do a ton of upfront damage, and Dark Lord Oswald was getting focused by Peakley, basically got taken down to 80% or 20% health very quickly in that fight. It was a fight where the fight lines were not incredibly clear coming out from Elysium Ares, and that right there turned into their downfall. As not only is it the Dragon, like you were saying, it's also the team fight win, which is a very big problem. So now Elysium Ares kind of have to do on-the-fly problem solving and try to figure out how are we going to get around Nasus. Do we have to just play when Nasus is on sideline and are we trying to play for the next Dragon? I think they need to be a little bit tighter with how their game plan is going because they can very easily lose out on this game.
Just have to give it a few moments. I mean, the Baron is still up, as we'll definitely see fight for vision around this objective. But hold on, are you also getting a bit of freezing on your end?
I also have a freeze, okay. So maybe there's just a pause. There's probably more than likely this is just a pause. There we go. We're back. Yeah. We've got a game back. So right now, good job coming out from the side of ketaMINT. What they're doing is just being able to find where enemy jungle is, make sure that they can have eyes on Amumu, protect their side laners most importantly, making sure that Valter and Icy Rain are able to get resources for themselves so they can be more relevant. So we'll show them all. Very close to having that third item, and it's going to be an Infinity Edge here for Jhin, so have to be looking out. Once that kind of starts to come in, once both of our AD carries have Infinity Edge, I do expect that to kind of be somewhat of the game breaker. It comes down then to execution. Can we see them find this huge Curse of the Sad bullet time, or are we going to see ketaMINT with what is essentially a strong statement game considering their season so far? One of the few teams that has not taken a series win. Actually the only team that hasn't taken a series win in the tournament, so
they haven't even had a game win so far.
Yeah.
For add on top of that, it has not exactly been best for ketaMINT, at least up until this week. I mean, game one.
ketaMINT did win a game versus Grumpoi's Click in week 1, so they have one win. It's not a lot, but it's more than 0, and we take those.
You ever just take unreliable notes?
That's why I have my Master Doc. It's a little messy, but the Master Doc works.
Oh, Icy Rain here in the side lane. Not much help around. All 4 members here from the side of Elysium Ares will get that, but that leaves Susration here in a little spot of trouble, going low, going down fairly easily, and yet another kill going over to the side of Volter. Now level 16 on this Nasus, but with that many members on the bottom half of the map, this will open up Baron to be taken by Elysium Ares pretty comfortably.
No, this Jhin ult is hitting no one, brother man. We'll show them all. Careful. Everyone hide your pets. Everyone hide. If you got family members in the same house, Jhin might be aiming for them there. So, doesn't end up going through. But it's going to be a Baron here coming in for Elysium Ares. Mostly what I expect this Baron to do is to embolden them to walk into mid-wave and then push it going into this Dragon in 2 minutes. Aside from that, I don't think it's going to have that much of an influence. You have champions that are not the best at clearing waves, so what I do want to see from them is, like I was saying, move through mid, make sure that you're able to place vision, and get ready for this upcoming Drake fight, because this is going to be the one that really makes or break the game. Again, our AD carries are hitting their 3rd items. We do have Peakley with his flash coming back up. If they can try to make an early find 35 to a minute before the Dragon onto enemy jungle, that right there can really open up the game and potentially close it out for Ares.
And not only that, Hextech Soul is such a, I mean, it's the strongest soul in the game. I mean, the ability to just apply 50 slows onto onto the whole team, just with a singular attack.
Yeah, we're all paused. We are currently all experiencing an amazing pause right now. So, for everybody at home, probably just a bug for the players. They are probably currently paused right now. Spectator client is awesome like that. Could also be, let me go check. Oh, okay, never mind. I was trying to see if maybe the servers may be experiencing. I'm gonna go check Riot servers real quick.
We experienced something similar to this in week 1.
True.
You remember that was sad boy hours for the for the stream where not even the op.gg spectator was working.
Yeah, it seems
and
like it's a little bit broken. I say we give this maybe another 2 minutes, see where it goes, and if it booms, GG. Nothing we can do about that. I am gonna, while we're waiting, I'll probably just pull up OPGG and see if we can get in through there. I know you said that in May it doesn't always work, but always worth a shot in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the while we do that and try to figure out a way around these technical issues, we'll send it to a break. Hopefully it will be to continue game 1 between Elysium Ares and ketaMINT. But we'll just have to wait and see. We'll play it by ear. We'll update you when we have more information as it comes in. So don't go anywhere. We will be back as soon as possible.
on. Keep moving on. And they say I have a grim sense of humor.
We apologize for the extended delay. Not only did we have a spectator breaking bug at the end of towards the end of game 1 there. Draft law has also gone down, so we're making stuff up on the fly. And as we mentioned,
I had to use a different tool. Draft law went down, so then we got we had to do. With Fearless Draft Simulator, thanks to fearlessdraft.net. I know there's a lot of community content creators, but we've got the draft set up. I know it's a little bugged. Please bear with us, and thank you again to our production for being able to make something on the fly. This has definitely not been the cleanest series in terms of the spectator client going down, but we have to make do, right? So we're already kind of through the draft. The bans are very similar, although this time ketaMINT on the blue side, getting rid of Skarner this time, and getting themselves the Mordekaiser, which was banned in the last game.
Yeah, we saw how much of an impact Volter had up there in the top lane, giving him a champion that was banned away last time around. Even though Elysium Ares ended up picking up the win in game 1, he had that confirmed that it was an Elysium Ares win. Volter was definitely one of the bright spots on that ketaMINT team, and so being able to put him on a what I would have to imagine is a comfort champion as they opt to a blue 1 Mordekaiser. It'd be interesting to see how this pans out for them.
For sure. We have we will be going over the post-game screen as well for everybody at home who's wondering what happened to game 1. Again, spectator bug. We'll be going over it during the spectator delay, so don't worry if you guys want to check the screens. Like Isaac was just saying, Elysium did obviously win. It's also on the graphics package, which you can see here. So ketaMINT going for a bit of an aggressive strategy here. Mordekaiser is someone who can be a little bit more dominant in lane, has the very, very impactful ultimate to be able to take out certain members in team fights. And Varus Elise, already I think we're kind of setting up for a situation where ketaMINT want to play very fast, very loose, and they want to make sure that when they take out targets, there's not much interaction from the opponent. So looking forward to what we see from Elysium Ares here in the third pick. There's a couple of options. The Ziggs is very, very flexible, which is why I love this. And again, getting themselves a Rel, something that provides lockdown alongside of Wukong. They have all the good pieces of crowd control already set for themselves. Now we need to see where the damage dealers for Elysiums are going to kind of come in.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need a bit more damage coming through. However, they do have the triple circle of death composition. You have one,
true. Venn diagrams.
One coming down. Yeah, I guess it would look more like a Venn diagram, but you get caught in that circle between Wukong and Rel. Ziggs definitely has Ziggs been touched in the patch at all? Because I totally forgot again that today was the patch and that we're on 18-19 now. I feel like Ziggs would have to have been touched from a balance perspective. Just as an opinion, do you know? Inform about Ziggs. Has he been changed at all in the patch?
I mean, they nerfed, like they basically took a bunch of gold in and from certain items. It seems like on hit and mages are kind of in vogue right now because they also took some stats. So for instance, Infinity Edge lost a little bit of AD but is also a little bit more expensive now, so AD carries are, I'm going to assume, starting to get phased out a little bit or are not going to be as strong. I also kind of have to agree, want to see them make a little bit of a micro patch for this for 14-19. I think making Infinity Edge as expensive as it is makes it really awful in terms of its gold, kind of the gold equivalency for what you're getting in terms of stats. It seems like on-hit AD carries are really, really strong here. So we'll even take a look at the second phase of bans here. Yone and Alistar are gone. Ahri and Fiora for the side of ketaMINT. Big one for me, where is the Nautilus? Nautilus actually, I think, is going to be a really good answer into someone like Ziggs and to potentially stopping the Wukong, but it's one of those situations where because Leona's gone, thanks to the, it being a fearless draft, there are not a ton of options. Poppy as well, two champions that I think would do really, really well to try to supplement some of ketaMINT's ability to actually keep players locked down. I do want to see if they'll pick up a damage-dealing threat in through the mid lane, just because right now they have some skirmishing ability, but aside from Varus, they are very reliant on being in Fog of War, being first to the play, and really kind of keeping their opponents in range of them.
Camille is the choice, though. That one is locked in. So I'm curious. It's an interesting choice. Especially around Mordekaiser now. Now I'm not so sure. I just figured that it would have definitely gone to the hands of Volter there in the top lane. But now I'm not so sure.
I don't know what's happening anymore. There's a Mordekaiser and a Camille on the same team. Isaac, we're going to do the same thing we did in the last game. We're learning alongside the broadcast. We are going to just figure out what's going on.
Wait, the timer stopped counting down. Didn't know way they lost in Vayne.
That's a Vayne. Oh my God, that's a Vayne on 5. I think Vayne, while systematically maybe awful into Elise, is kind of fine in this game. There's not a lot of range. You have a Rel, a Wukong to be able to help peel for you, even if someone like Camille jumps on top of you. I think that's perfectly fine. And I think kind of while we're waiting for this draft to kind of peel out, we can actually take a look at last game's screenshot, actually, if we want to do this during, while we're waiting for them to kind of get through the actual draft here. So, real quick, taking a look at last game. Unfortunately, again, not our fault. This is a spectator client bug due to probably the big sweeping changes they made on this patch. Unfortunately, breaking a lot of the API coming into this series. So, sorry for everybody that we weren't able to kind of get that on your screens for you. We would obviously have really loved to finish that game, but Elysium Aries do end up picking the win, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun going through this VOD and trying to figure out how they came back, because at 28 minutes, we were kind of talking about it as a situation where the game was looking a little bit dicey.
Yeah, it was definitely very back and forth-ish. I would say it was slightly Aries favored. I mean, we saw the big fight that ketaMINT took, and we saw how big of a threat Volter was becoming, and Nasus never really slows down once he gets going. As you said, it would be interesting to see how Elysium Aries managed to actually take that win there. One thing that we can relate to this upcoming game too is that we're going to have, I'm going to assume, is another marksman in the top lane for Susration there. Obviously, he didn't necessarily have the greatest of times there in game 1 on Smolder, but I mean, looking at the post-game screen, we saw he hit that the 215 marks of dragon practice, where he started getting that burn and the execute, and it was so again, it was one of the cases. It was on a very fine point where we were hitting a lot of just very key, I guess, break points for these champions coming through, and clearly Susration, at least taking a look at the post-game screen, managed to turn it around with that.
I'm just gonna say, I think he was just farming damage. He is playing a ranged into melee matchup top lane. If you don't have top 2 damage in the lobby, my top laner has something we need to investigate his keyboard. For the most part, I it's really hard to tell. This is very similar to Twisted Fate versus Cassante when I was really running rampant in top lane. It is really hard, especially without watching, to see what happened. I want to see if maybe they got a really good damage kind of combo off. We didn't get to see that. I'm gonna hold judgment. I've been kind of individually, as I go through these games, I'm giving my fake faux MVP to who really won that game and who did the best, and I don't want to just give it off of the fact that range versus melee matchup, this guy was able to farm Grasp of the Undying stacks off of Anasis.
I was mostly speaking towards the fact that by the time when the spectator bug happened, Susration was 1 in 5, I think. It was somewhere in that realm of definitely not great game, but as we see here, finished
Vayne
up.
Mid.
It is Vayne mid.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Real quick, if we could just go back to the draft screen, since I think we're kind of wrapped up on this one. There's not much we can talk about. This is looking to be a Vayne mid game. Now, we are currently using another draft client right now. As you can see, the graphics are a little bit bugged, although the bands are kind of correct. They look basically to what we have, we are getting a Vayne mid this game. It is going to be Vayne mid versus Mordekaiser. Again, another matchup where Mordekaiser is going to want to really pray that his jungler is actually able to visit mid lane. And so, again, up to what Elysium Ares can kind of pull off. They are 1 up in this series, and depending on the results of this could be ketaMINT going on a potential 4-game series losing streak.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm looking forward to this game just because of how wild the picks are. I mean, welcome to a Fearless Drafts where, and especially on a patch day. I mean, when's the last time I've seen a Vayne mid? I think it was maybe Jojo Pune played it in Spring Split.
Yeah, it was. There's that one. Then there's obviously the famous Fnatic one.
Yeah.
Dylan, we have to go Vayne. That one's just iconic.
Yeah,
Can't get away from that one. But
Gosh,
I think the most recent one would definitely have to be JJ Pion versus Insanity. I'm going to be playing versus Sion. So could be a little bit different, but we'll have to see. I think this is another game where I think ketaMINT do have options to be able to play the game, and I do actually like this draft a lot more than game 1. But again, execution is king.
Well, we have a little bit of preparations to get through before then, so I imagine this delay will be shorter than last spectator delay, but we do have to sit for a little bit. But when we get back, it will be game 2 between ketaMINT and Elysium Ares. Don't go anywhere. We will return very shortly with that one. And we are back for game 2 between Elysium, Ares, and ketaMINT, or I should probably say ketaMINT, Elysium, Ares, as ketaMINT are on blue side for this one. But in bigger news, we do have a Vayne mid locked
Yay! Hey, look, if they're able to get it done, I think Dark World Oswald has had a few banger games back-to-back. You know, we were talking a little bit about their series last week for Elysium Ares, and the fact that he was actually able to get, I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's currently the only pentakill holder of the season. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about it during Otter Talk. I want to give a lot of praise to them. Getting a pentakill is always a really big occasion, and we'll see if anybody else is able to kind of match up in week 4, but Dark World Oswald has been a very big key to the, I think, consistency of this team. They haven't always been able to string together wins, but I think Dark Lord Oswald has been a more consistent member of the team so far throughout the 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean taking a win off of Brain. Hello, they played Goobers. Yeah,
yep.
No. But yeah, they played Goobers.
Yep.
I mean, I think that caught everybody by surprise, maybe even themselves a little bit, going into that one, as Omega Goober is definitely one of the favorites. For the top of the league, starting this one. So yeah, Dark Lord Oswald. We'll have to keep an eye out on the Ziggs this time around. However, I mean, my eyes are still in the mid lane because, I mean, Vayne Mordekaiser mid, I don't know if I've ever seen that played, just in general.
Yeah, it's definitely a different, it's kind of more like a solo key matchup. Now, a couple of things. One, junglers are pathing to the same side of the map, although Peakley has actually gone for a bottom side clear where he's going to be ending near bottom lane. If they can try to get the flash away from Oswald, that'll be a really good find for them. Ignite here for Volter against the Aatrox for a much more aggressive kind of stance. And funnily enough, we'll show them all going for Lethal Tempo. Lethal Tempo definitely getting a change on this patch, as well as not going for the poke build.
Flash forward from Ixie will find the concussive blows onto Hooked on Play, so going to be a counter of flashes, 2 going down on the side of Elysium Ares, so overall very positive from ketaMINT early on.
Yeah, look, all you had to do is show they played aggressive. I think that obviously shows that even without their jungler, that could have potentially happened. Now play on to mid.
Mid lane, going to be tough daddy, going to just dodge that one out and should be fine for now.
Yeah. The fact that they get those flashes means that they can play a little bit farther up, though I will say...
Low, OP kill switch here, flash forward, maybe a little bit overkill, but does guarantee that first blood goes over to the side of Elysium Ares.
Alright, let me see how this mid wave... Oh, and the top wave is absolutely juicy! Wave is going to be pushing into Susurration. Does not need to TP if he wants to try to save that for a future play. He's in fact just going to try to use it just to make sure that he is there. But is a repeat potential, especially with Peakley now ending, kind of doing some more of those topside camps. Has a potential to go top lane. They still have Ignite available for Camille, and they can try to play on the next wave.
Yeah, and speaking of on Camille, I mean, immediately Volter going to get that shield out of the way and taking a decent chunk out of Susurration should be at least mostly okay for now, but we'll have to visit back up there every now and then to see how that goes over. I had a point that I was going to lead into, and I forget what it was.
Well, either way, I like what Elysium Ares were starting to prep. I'm glad that Kill Switch actually had a lot of forethought with where he wanted to jungle path. I think a lot of options there would have been some other junglers may have just decided to play for themselves, play for their camps, and go for the bottom side scuttle, considering they just made a play on top side, Elise showed on bottom lane. You have to imagine that she is going to be up there and potentially playing for the dive. Instead, showing a lot of respect to the enemy jungler and saying, hey, look, we know Elise is going to be top side. We know there's a massive wave coming and kind of slamming near turret. I'm going to protect my Aatrox to make sure that he catches this wave, knowing that he doesn't have flash, knowing that he just uses teleport, and being able to secure him that wave does make sure that the game doesn't just become super, super volatile in favor of ketaMINT.
Yeah, and I think of moving towards that top lane, at least we'll get our first few recalls coming out here from the side of ketaMINT. Not going to show up with the Sheen, going to show up with the Sheen on the Elise.
Lich
walk me through
Banger
at least
is a dangerous item. Lich Banger
I have to
is
imagine
very
that's where
strong.
it's going. I'm not familiar with Elise because I mean she was played a lot in America's Challengers. I know, but I don't recall a lot of the itemization. I don't remember seeing first item by Sheen specifically.
Well, so Elise has a lot of attack animation kind of canceling abilities, and some of her abilities do interact with just being able to auto attack and be attack enhancers. And Lich Bang has been getting consistent buffs over some patches. I'm pretty sure Elise also got a playoff on this patch. I'm not completely sure about that. I know that there were some that were slated for this patch, so we'll have to see if that's actually going to be the case. But I mean, AP items, jungle champs are very, very strong right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case, especially with how they've also buffed.
Icy Raiden's going to find OP kill switch, going to send them to, speaking of Brazil, going to find him here. OP kill switch going low, will be condemned by Tough Daddy for now, but oh, that is a... I didn't know that was a thing that you could do on Mordekaiser, where you flash forward with the Q, but Icy Raiden going low should be expected to go down very soon. The Unbreakable not going to be enough from Ixie to keep his top laner alive. Tough Daddy, though, going to have to go very deep for that and take a lot of health out, but does manage to just roll away for now. Very low, but not quite down. So one kill, trade of kills going across between these two teams here, but more importantly than that, it does mean that ketaMINT will have the first trade going over to them.
Awesome. That's a really great trade. Again, they know that the bot lane does not have flash. I think it's kind of dangerous, especially with, again, when you're playing mid lane, when you're playing these solo lanes, you get a little bit more access to gold and experience. Mordekaiser hit 6 there, and that right there makes it very, very hard, I think, for Elysium Ares to actually pick up that dragon. So not only to get the kill, they get themselves the dragon, they get to continue to push, which is a very big find when you are playing with a Ziggs on the enemy team. You want to make sure that he doesn't have alone time with that turret, and being able to play out range when you have bot lane priority is going to be a really good strategy. Now, what I do want to see from ketaMINT, if they want to continue to put this Ziggs behind, they need to be playing around a strong side top laner right here. They need to be making sure that they're getting grubs, because at this point, if they ever get grubs, they're going to get 4 or 5. Dangerous situation to be in. And kill switch, I mean, you have camps on the bottom side of the map here. You really want to be getting that level 6 pretty soon. Very, very kind of suspect spot to be in, because Peakley is now going to be finishing all their bot side camps, end up towards top side, and then have their ultimate available for them when they come up. You even see right now the bottom lane of ketaMINT already rotating over to play for grubs.
Yeah, and I don't see an equivalent rotation from the side of Elysium Ares. They're only sitting up their support. Dark Lord Oswald's heading straight back to that bottom lane, so it should be a numbers advantage for ketaMINT here at the start of any potential fight. And yeah, that will be OP kill switch hopping out there just to get away. At the very least, they do get one grub, but not exactly the most optimal situation. It's not the best start we've seen from the side of Elysium Ares for sure.
And right now, they're in a very bad spot because they're actually making a lane swap here on the side of ketaMINT. So making sure that the Varus is going to be able to match Aatrox, who is currently not going to be able to 1v2, especially versus a Braum. And Camille, I mean, if for whatever reason, if Hooked on Flays actually ends up finishing this recall or is able to roam away, it's very easy for Volter to find a solo kill here. So ketaMINT Elysium Ares need to find a way to be able to break this lane swap and make sure that they get themselves in a good position, because this could turn into a massive advantage.
That's going to be the moment
Sus?
here. It's going to be Susurration trying to find a lot of life steal to keep himself alive for now. Does so just that much and finds a lot of damage onto Peakley. Not much, but at least it's enough to dissuade anything further in this numbers advantage. But since Susurration won't have the World Ender available, Tough Daddy is here, and actually they might just try to find something on the back end.
Wait a minute. Not only this, but Hooked on Flays got shown on a ward walking past the Krugs. So this could open up an angle for Volter, because he knows, okay, enemy jungle just showed, have to be taking a recall soon. We just saw support
from Ixie.
Great
Does
job,
have enough
Ixie.
Damage.
That's the goat right there.
The kill, and there it is. Yeah, Ixie. Going to claim that and claim another one for ketaMINT.
They are very dizzy right now from the side of Elysium Ares. ketaMINT are keeping them on their toes. They're making sure that they're not getting stable lanes. Their bottom lane just won. I don't know why Susurration didn't just take a recall. This is why I had questions coming into the series whether or not Susurration was going to be able to kind of show up in this game. He hasn't really been the most consistent top laner, and I think his games last week specifically really left a bad taste in my mouth. So now we're getting a second game, 2 games in a row now where I think Susurration individually in lane has not really been kind of showing up, and it's leading to this issue where ketaMINT, they make the lane swap, they're able to get themselves the kills there, they're able to then play for grubs, they're also able to then swap afterwards. They can do a lot from this situation. They're going to continue the lane swaps here to make sure that Elysium Ares are not on even footing.
Yeah, I mean, you say it straight as that happens, we're going to see Bolter moving up to the top side, hooked on plays, in a bit of trouble, going to have to flash, but Hextech ultimatum will drop. Not going to have really any ability to move at all as Ice Rain's here. Bolter going to pick up that kill. Dark Lord Oswald is there. I don't believe he can get under towers. He hits the edge of the Death Realm, going low, going down, smacked by Ice Rain. Tough Daddy is here to try to turn this around at full health. But I'm not sure there's much else he can do. It'll be condemned onto Bolter. Tough Daddy going low, tumbling away, but too much damage coming through. Not enough movement there. We'll show them all. Well, at least we'll pick one up on the back end of this fight as we head towards the bottom side of the map. Now, Susurration popping the World Ender, not really getting much out of it, though. So, bit of a carrot, bit of a tough situation here, as at the very least, Hooked on Plays will be arriving, but without level 6, this will be highly advantaged over to the side of ketaMINT. That is going to be Susurration not able to do anything at all. P-Clay coming back down, Hooked on Plays still only level 5, so not going to be able to have the ultimate of the Magnet Storm at all to try to pull them under tower maybe. And meanwhile, all while on this top lane, it'll be Bolter and Icy Rain picking up what I have to imagine will probably be all 5. Wait, hold on. The OP kill switch is arriving, trying to find the Cyclone onto Bolter. Finds all of it. Tons of damage coming through. All the while, that does mean Icy Rain does get free reign over this tower. Won't be able to put OP kill switch away. So as Icy Rain does have to flash away, OP kill switch will choose not to extend that.
That's really awful for the game. That's really bad for the game. So, kind of insane right now. I mean, ketaMINT look like a bit of a better team. It seems like they are at least more stable with what they want to do, and they're kind of playing around. Dude, this champion just takes no damage. Does Oswald just have... Oh, he went Archangels first. No wonder this champion does nothing. Okay. I keep seeing this. I really wish you would stop, guys. Please, I'm begging you. For the gamers that are playing on this patch, I even saw it last patch, please stop building Archangels first. Like, you're not going to be able to stack it in time. It takes you so long, and it just delays your first item power spike when you're playing Ziggs. You're already going to be waiting on 3 anyway. You're going from 1 item to 3 items, so just wait. Your first item is so important.
We'll show them all will be stunned up for now. Susurration following it up, and that's a lot of CC. Not much you can really do from Will Show Them All. It will be the Locket coming from the Ixie, trying to keep his ADC alive, but it's just not enough with how little was left there. Amazing peak play. We'll move up for that, but it should be fine.
Okay, so maybe we see Dark Lord Oswald get dove. Yeah, okay, yeah, he's just dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna talk about the last play that happened. I don't know why Tough Daddy flashed. One of his most important spells that he's gonna have this game is gonna be his Flash Summoner spell, and by not having that, he is so susceptible to Volter in the future being able to find and engage, to P-Clay being able to find something as well. So I think while you're being extra greedy, didn't even get the kill in that situation, you are basically asking for the enemy team to come and gank you, come into this team fight, and potentially immediately burst you out. Not in a really big advantage either.
Yeah, it's... yeah, it's not looking great for Elysium Ares here in Game 2. It's definitely been just a series of blunders. That being said, OP kill switch staying around. I'm not sure if necessarily want that. Hooked on Plays is here. We'll be able to at least steal the red buff away. But I think he just might be inviting too much danger here. Icy Rain so far ahead. There's not much left on the side of Elysium Ares. Cyclone will be popped. That's just not a lot. Finding its way onto Icy Rain will decide to send Hooked on Plays to the Death Realm. Does end up getting that kill, and all the while, there's nowhere to go for OP kill switch. He gets caught out by the rest of ketaMINT. Susurration as well, getting slowed up by the Rylai's Crystal Scepter and the passive on Mordekaiser there. Volter getting that extra kill now as we flash over the wall inside the base. This isn't your territory, despite what the colors might show. Ixie picking up another kill. There's still 3 members on the side. Oh, whoa, Piclay not going to be able to drop aggro there in time. Still will be okay, but at the very least, they will all get out, and so it will be more ketaMINT's domination here, and apparently not even their base is safe anymore.
Wow. I mean, they just completely ran them down. They didn't even care about what's going on. They just said, look, we're so strong right now. Rightfully so. Trinity forced Camille at this point. You have Rylai's built and ready to go on this Mordekaiser. They're making sure that the opponents are not going to be, you know, able to find a kind of even keel. I like how ketaMINT have been playing this game. They kept it very, very fast, very, very loose. They're making sure that Elysium Ares can't find their footing. Every time they were trying to go for the lanes, they made the lane swap. They continue to find dominance. And Elysium Ares have shown that they're not the kind of team to play very consistently and making sure that they're making as few mistakes as possible. So taking advantage of that and getting a lot of kills, generating a lot of bonus gold for yourselves by taking turrets, very, very smart from them. I think this is probably the best game that ketaMINT has shown all season long in Week 4.
Yeah, I mean, their performance so far really speaks for itself. I mean, 5-2-1 Volter, I believe, was sitting on around 2k gold coming back. You said it was the Triforce on the Camille. That was before the recall. Now, just getting that extra strength under Volter's belt, who's definitely been a bright spot for this ketaMINT team, even in Game 1, despite the fact that they ended up losing that. Just a really overall great performance from the top laner that they've brought in. And, you know, we were questioning how much they've swapped up this roster a bit. And, well, admittedly, results-based analysis is not the best way to go about it. And, you know, Elysium Ares, even though they did manage to win against Omega Goobers last week, still, I mean, where was I going with this? ketaMINT, where was I going with this?
All I'm going to say is results-based analysis kind of sucks, but when you're a winless team, you got to put up some kind of results. When you're a team that has 0 in the win column when it comes to series wins, you need everything you can get. Similar to how we were talking about it with the Akuma Sabers guys on Auto Talk, how they are saying, we don't care by which manner we get the win. Now they're TPing, they're going to try and make a flank play. We'll hold this.
Yeah, the teleport coming in from Susurration, trying to find Piclay, Ixie now on the backside. Cyclone will find 2, but I don't know how much damage there is left available. Susurration going low, will show the mullet, perhaps stepping a little bit too far. Volter does get the kill at the very end, but it's traded back immediately. Meanwhile, that'll be another one dropping over to the side of Elysium Ares, and it's just dominance from ketaMINT. Continuing story, there's not much you can really do left on Dark Lord Oswald. There he is, finally going down, and it's just more overall just brutality from ketaMINT at this point. There's just not anything Elysium Ares can find, despite, I mean, I can respect the attempts to drop the teleport coming through, but at the end of the day, it's just
all I'm gonna say,
a wall
guys,
gap.
Right before Tough Daddy died, his flash came up. If he had the flash available to him, maybe they're able to make that play. Maybe they're able to make something happen. He has the final hour. He has the ultimate going through. Ixie, you're a jungler, or you play jungle this season, and we messed up the Herald. That's all I'm going to say. You're having a much better game 2. Game 1 was not your fault. You had to play Leona to Poppy. Things happen, okay? But ketaMINT are just looking really good. I don't know how else to say this. I know we've been kind of harping on it, but they're playing really, really well, and I love how aggressive they are, especially with playing with Camille as primary engage alongside Braum. A very easy vehicle for Braum to be able to get into the enemy's face and make sure that they're applying damage. So good job to them. They're keeping the pace of the game really, really fast for their opponents. And Tough Daddy, again, when you are playing this Vayne, you are playing this Ziggs, you're hoping that come 25-30 minutes, you can have a really strong game. But if you never get to that point, if you're not able to reach the item breakpoints, then it just doesn't matter. You got smashed in the early game, and that's kind of what's happening right here. 7,000 gold lead at almost 20 minutes in the game here for the side of ketaMINT, and a very strong showing for a roster that we all had a lot of doubts for. You know, we were talking about it on Auto Talk. We were saying, like, I was making the joke, North American GMing, they're constantly replacing rosters. They have 3/5 of the roster gone. Dark Lord, Oswald, Tough Daddy, or sorry, bringing in Peakley, Volter, and we'll show them. Very big change for this roster, but so far, with a little bit of hiccups from game 1, I think they were still having a strong showing, but the drafts obviously didn't give them a ton to work with. This time around, they're doing something really unique, something spicy to them. They're doing a great job.
I mean, well, the counter side to that, since we've been kind of bigging up ketaMINT, and rightly so, is, I mean, what we really have to look forward to from Elysium Ares, because even though it's not the case, you did kind of mention it earlier, it's kind of a Wii scale situation, which is not exactly, which is often, it just often speak for it's doomed, but in this situation, I mean, I do overall think that they can scale. If they do sit back, I mean, even though ketaMINT has definitely pushed this lead, has done a lot that you would like to see, if they slow down at all, it might come crumbling down. That's honestly a big if at this point.
Thankfully, they have enough gold that if it slows down, it's kind of fine, right? Like they have gold to play with. They have like, you know, like they have stupid money, as I like to say. You get to play around with it. You can make a few mistakes, but right now, Elysium Air is kind of fighting on the ropes right now. They would really want to be able to kind of string along a couple of wins, and right now, we are in week 4. I don't want to say that ketaMINT are necessarily locked out of playoffs, but I don't think their schedule gets any weaker from here. So they're going to be playing Akuma Sabres next week, which, if we're being honest with ourselves, should be a scheduled loss.
We'll try to find his way onto Desperation. Hooked on Flays is here, though, but with just how much strength Volter has, he should be alright for now. OP Killswitch jumping in on this, actually. It'll be a shutdown, but it's not going to go onto who you'd really want it to. Hooked on Plays picking that one up. At the very least, that's a lot of gold going over to the side of Elysium Ares, and they do manage to pick up the objective bounty as well there in the bot lane.
Exactly. Some gold in their back pocket, but right now, ketaMINT, it's a small hiccup, but again, they have money to play with. But right now, that Baron going down, very, very tragic for them. And hopefully they're able to kind of keep this. Maybe this is the inflection point where we start to see Elysium Ares kind of come back. And they're going to have to keep making plays like that on sides. Ziggs is starting to get to that point where once he finishes his second item, he can very easily answer side waves. They can keep playing 4-1 where they kind of have OP kill switch playing in River, playing in Fog of War to try to help out the side lanes. And if any point they have a situation where they can't actually, you know, attend to one of the side waves, Ziggs ultimate helps them clear that wave, or at least helps them push in that manner. So they have a lot of options here. And ketaMINT continue to have to try to play fast and loose. They have to keep playing with those guerrilla tactics. Get into Fog of War. Find your opponents. Find those pockets of vision where the opponents do not have wards. And then open up with a really big kind of teamfight burst.
Yeah, and then it's a little bit, I guess, I don't know if tough is the right word for them at the present moment. Even though it's one of the things that I do believe this is fully in ketaMINT's bag, but since they are reliant on playing around that vision with their composition and like bringing in Elysium Ares where they want to without really anything on the map to play for, this has kind of been, I mean, they picked up the Baron uncontested, but for being completely honest, this is definitely not the biggest Baron push ever. At the very least, Drake will be coming up in a few seconds. They should be able to pick up the Cloud Soul, which is actually fairly helpful for their composition. So a little bit extra value in their behind them, but it's what, I don't know. I just kind of sit here and with these silent moments. I shouldn't, it's not panic button time, but it's like, do you ever just have that like little voice in the back of your head that says, hey, it's like the warning, like the warning signs are showing, even though it's might be
you start to get a little bit worried. You're like, okay, we're not really closing out the game. The game has slowed down, but I think ketaMINT are doing a good job of at least keeping up the pace with grabbing objectives, taking away Barons from the opponents. Again, just because you take an objective away that maybe an opponent won't be able to use. Oh, Volter. I like the idea of it, but also turrets are just warming up. They do so much damage. Damn. I feel like I don't know if maybe I'm just like, it's just like a visual thing, but I feel like the turrets are warming up really, really quickly to do a ton of damage.
Yeah, they have been recently. I don't remember there being a change to turret warm up. Wait, hold on. OP kill switch will have to flash away, so at the very least, Wukong not going to have that very key summoner spell, especially on Wukong as a champion. Very kind of reliant to get in there, especially when you're this far behind. It's very good takeaway from the side of ketaMINT at the very least.
Okay, so they did change the visuals of warming up on this patch. So it does look like it's going to be, like it just looks a lot bigger. That's probably why it just seems like it's doing a lot more. They made it visually very strong. I did miss when turret was a laser. When turret was a laser and you would just have it just like sit there and it becomes this massive beam that's like huge and very like visually very noisy. I think it was a very cool design. I don't know if it was the best because you could just like juggle turret aggro and it was very disgusting what you could do with that. But I did think it was always one of the coolest features of the turrets.
I mean, this I don't want to age you, so I
Yeah, what's up?
That wasn't a thing when I started playing League of Legends.
That's okay. I'll admit it. I've been playing season 4. So
I've seen it in like old clips of like LCS games and whatnot. But so it's like this isn't necessarily new information for me, but like no comment on the actual effect and like the, I guess, efficacy of the difference between laser and tower shots. I don't have that experience at all.
Despite how this game has been going, currently they're having a really big issue of actually opening up the tier 2s of Elysium Ares. And during this time, there's been more gold generation, and because they're playing 4-1 right now on the side of ketaMINT, they're actually losing out on gold and experience for one of their members. So for the side of Elysium Ares, they're starting to slingshot back into this game where we're starting to see Susurration pick up some more gold. Specifically, Tough Daddy is going to be more and more relevant as this game goes on. And remember, we're waiting for Tough Daddy and Dark Lord Oswald to get to those second items. Oh, hooked on Flays. Okay, if I'm in this game, I'm yelling at my rel. Why does my rel has that should have just been rel flash W instant combo. Have to blow the enemy Varus flash. We're right before the Baron as well. That was a huge satchel. I think that was a missed opportunity from the side of Elysium Ares where maybe they're saying, look, we're so far behind, we can't be making too many explosive plays, but that right there could have been a game decider.
Maybe. That being said, what else might be a slightly more game deciding, especially since we do have the Elder Drake coming up in 2.5 minutes, is the perfect window for an Elder Drake coming through, and they won't even be able to find Volta there in the side lane. So even though this has kind of slowed down, oh wait, hold on, Ghost plopped by Icy Rain, Dark Lord Oswald, you can't really go anywhere. There's just not anything you can do once you get sent to Brazil by Mordekaiser. Hooked on plays now, going down to about half health, going low. Icy Rain will survive for now. Hooked on plays going down, but here comes the rest of Elysium Ares to pick up 2 kills, 2 big shutdowns at the very least, but at what cost? They send all 5 members into the bottom lane. That just gives free reign over this top half of the map, especially with Baron buff to start knocking in these turns. You said they were having trouble getting finding a way into the base of the side of Elysium Ares, but there they are now taking down the top lane inhibitor.
Huge play right there. I mean, the fact that Icy Rain lives for so long. Kill switch is dead. And they have Baron. They can end on this next wave. This mid wave is coming in here. They don't have a ton of wave clear. Dark Lord Oswald is alive. That might throw a spanner in the works for them here, but they still have Baron available to them. I think it's very possible if they want to try to go for it. It'd be a bit tough. Okay, so they're going to recall there, but during that play, Icy Rain, huge MVP of that. Not only did he have a ton of healing coming in just from his kid and having the Conquer stacked up, that Zhonya's bought so much time for them. And during that, like you were saying, we saw we'll show them all Nixie, this bottom lane, moving through the top side of the map. They get the tier 2, they get the inhibitor turret as well as the inhibitor, and Picle as well playing in mid lane. He's pushing 2 waves at the same time, so really great stuff coming out from ketaMINT, playing the map really excellently with their solo laners there in that moment. While they do sacrifice their lives, they end up making a massive play for the team and explode the game. I mean, the gold was kind of sitting between 9 and 7,000 gold, but now they're sitting 12,000. That is a huge amount, especially when you already have Soul, and 30 seconds before Elder, you have complete domination of this bottom side jungle.
And more, you did say that it was Zonia's Hourglass. It was actually the Seeker's Arm Guard.
Even better.
And so he
Even
will
better.
actually have it available for this upcoming Elder fight, which I would have to imagine has to be contested, especially since but it's just so difficult. Wait, hold on. OP Kill Switch try to find a way in, but taken low, going down, not quite flashing away. They do actually get a kill in return. Shutdown going on to hooked on plays. Do they have enough damage to finish
Tough
the rest of it?
Daddy.
Yes, they do. Tough Daddy going low, going down, though. Will show them all. Does flash forward to get that kill, and now without any more damage left on the side of Elysium Ares, I say no more damage. Dark Lord Oswald is alive, but with Baron and with three members still left alive on the side of ketaMINT, I'm not really sure there's much else you can do. At the very least, Ice Rain can't send Dark Lord Oswald away, which wouldn't really matter much now that I'm saying that, but I mean, we'll show them all's full health. One one Nexus Tower left down. There it is. The stasis will be able to draw the turret aggro away and guarantee that we will be going to game 3 between Elysium Ares and ketaMINT.
ketaMINT get their second game win of the season so far, and probably have the most convincing game that their organization is able to put up in Blue Water Diamond League this season. So exciting stuff. Looking forward to what we get from Game 3, especially if they're able to actually get their first series win. At that point, they could start to play spoiler for a lot of teams with this roster.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were making fun of NA GMing with how much they...
NA GMing was too strong in Game 2, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, you all say that, but I mean, I also want to throw over to, like, Volter how I mean, maybe not so much in Game 2, but even in Game 1, was also a very big presence. Not bad in Game 2, obviously. I would say Icy Rain was kind of the guy there in that regard, but still, I mean, this ketaMINT, they've definitely surprised me. I'll put it that way.
We'll see. I think this is a good time to kind of mention the fact that whoever wins this series, obviously, we were talking about strength of schedule, but with ketaMINT so far down in Week 4, I think it's a little bit tough for them to try to make a playoff berth. Again, it's top 6 that make it, so you really got to like just streak a bunch of wins back to back to back. And for ketaMINT, you know, you do have Akuma Sabres next week, but after that, it's XG Leviathan, it's Final Boss Diamond, and then after that, it's Art of War. So it's not the easiest by any means, and obviously every series starts with the first game. You make it through, maybe you're able to string along a couple wins. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe Elysium Ares just win this series, and you know, we kind of just throw it off, and we're like, okay, they got their one win. But I think this is a much more fun version of ketaMINT to watch than what we had the first 3 weeks.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if ketaMINT can take away their first series of the season, or if Elysium Ares can start to string a few wins together in Game 3, but we'll have to wait until then. When we come back, it will be the draft of Game 3, so don't go anywhere. We will return shortly with that coming your way. unfortunately, we've had my co-caster Alk Battery had something come up, and we won't be able to finish the series between Elysium Ares and ketaMINT here for Blue Otter Diamond in week 4. So if you are tuning in, we apologize, but thank you at the very least for showing up. We really appreciate it. I've been Isaac. Alk Battery, unfortunately not here, and behind controlling all of the production, and which has been a very busy production day for Wookie Monster. We thank for having the show run as smoothly as possible, considering all the negative externalities that managed to pop up. So we really thank you, Wookie, for doing that. But until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you.